I want to see more story, more campaign.
I don't know how much. I don't know how much of that they're gonna show us.
Oh. Oh.
Are the drops active? I can't fucking tell. I'm refreshing. Sorry. Sorry, chat.
Concealing a lot of secrets and danger. And it's somewhere that human scientists traveled to a long time ago to research a dormant singularity. While living on Kepler, not only did they observe
You are correct,
collapse,
Adam. Also, thank you for the follow.
They survived it.
Me when we
time,
get a developer insights video instead of a.
They held to were enshrined in their culture.
I forgot the name of it.
And they came to be known as the Ionians.
Ionians.
The Elixni House of Exile arrived during the Dark Age, weary from the Long Drift. They didn't invade Earth with the other Elixni houses. Instead, they sought a new home.
How is audio? Do I need to turn it up a little, or is this good?
But the dark matter that permeates Kepler and that they converted into the ether they need to survive ended up being toxic. So when the Ionians failed to cure them, the house rose up under an archon, claiming to be blessed with prophetic sight. Now, the House of Exile is full of zealots. And they'll stand opposed to the Guardian as they walk the winding pathways of Kepler, learning more about what called them there in the first place. Guardian's paracausal power acts as a catalyst for the normally corrosive force of dark matter. These new powers will allow them to unlock long sealed passageways for the Ionians as they make their way to the singularity at the core of the planetoid.
So from the start, we focused on building Kepler as more of a dungeon-like destination. It expands on the interconnected world design of places like the Leviathan or the Shattered Throne.
As you fight your way across Kepler, you tap into dark matter abilities and unlock enemy tech that expands your navigation and aids you in combat. These are all about going places you would normally think.
Gambit modes, no man.
Matterspark has you turn into this wild ball of arc energy. It's like nothing we've done in Destiny before.
Orbs.
Orb.
The Mattermorph ability lets you twist the objects.
Can't wait to turn into a huge natural.
With Relocator, you've essentially co-opted the Fallen's teleportation networks and can use it to cross gaps you wouldn't have even considered before.
It'll be the small tells, an open vent, a broken window, things you want to remember because you might be revisiting them later.
Abilities can be upgraded, so as you unlock new perks, you can chain them into your build crafting in clever ways.
By far the most game-changing is one of Matterspark's upgrades. On Kepler, it lets you turn into Matterspark the same way you'd summon a sparrow, wherever and whenever. It will optimize not only exploration, but also combat on future playthroughs in super creative ways. There are tons of cool combinations. You can suspend an enemy with Mattermorph, bend a path up toward the sky, and then in mid-air, leap into Matterspark to dash across the arena and arc chain a group of enemies.
The team has already seen players pairing abilities with different exotic perks and aspects to create some really crazy builds.
We know this is only the beginning and can't wait to see what happens once players get their hands on this kit.
It's so goofy.
It's a little goofy.
All right. Hello, welcome to Bungie, and welcome to our Destiny 2 Edge of Fate live stream. This will be the first live stream that we have leading into launch. Big shout out to the folks that we had on our Dev Insight video. We were just talking about Kepler, destination abilities, some of the secrets of Kepler and the Aeonians, but we're going to leave that for a later date for you to discover. Today we're going to be talking a bunch about Sandbox. We have a bunch of core feature updates with Armor 3.0, gear tiering, some new loot for you to grind out, and a bunch of cool things to show. So without further ado, let's get to it. We have a wonderful panel of developers on our couch. Some of them are new, some of them you've seen before. But yeah, let's start out with Eric. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, Dylan.
Yeah. For folks that maybe haven't seen you on a previous live stream where you've talked about burst weapons and all the cool ability stuff, who are you? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Eric Smith, gameplay lead on Destiny 2, and I'm excited to dive into our sandbox changes.
Awesome. Vivian, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream format. We've seen you on Vidocs from time to time, but yeah, for folks that haven't met you, seen you on our Vidocs. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm Vivian Bex. I'm a sandbox designer on Destiny. I get the privilege of making like a lot of the toys that players get to use, you know, like weapons and stuff. Recently, I've kind of been all over the sandbox team, and I have some very exciting stuff to show today. I'm really excited.
Man. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. And last but not least, end of the couch, Bjorn. Taylor Bjorndal. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be
Who
here.
are you? What do you do here, buddy?
Taylor Bjorndal, associate weapons designer, sandbox designer. I've also bounced around and done a lot of stuff. Excited to talk about all of the million things we changed.
Yeah, right. I think the last time we had you on the couch, we were talking grid skipper roles and things like that.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah. So as we're diving into this, we have quite a bit to go through in the show. And to start, we're actually going to be in the shooting range. We're going to have our gameplay specialist going through, showing you some of the new weapons, some of the new ability or exotics that are going to be coming. But this will be playing in the background. You'll see them tuning a couple different enemies, playing around, damage types, that kind of stuff.
How
to start
dummy
with our
of
panel,
practice.
Let's talk Armor 3.0.
Why does
Eric,
they
if
gave it
we
a
can
name?
Talk about, like, where did we start with ammo? Where was it?
Why
back
is
the
Kyle
day?
in the
Where are
shooting
we going?
range?
What's the high-level vision for our changes?
Yeah, so when Destiny 2 launched,
Oh, I
we
see.
had armor in the game, but there were 3 stats. There were no mods available. And then with Shadowkeep,
Ew.
we hit armor 2.0, where we added 3 additional stats for a total of 6.
Przeszłem headcanon.
And armor mods as well.
Mhm.
And this is the next evolution for the new saga of Destiny 2. In Armor 3.0, we are adding, or we're reworking the stats. We're adding set bonuses, and we are adding gear tiers as well.
Yeah.
And the kind of the goals with Armor 3.0. So one, we want to make armor more exciting and desirable. When's the last time you saw
new
purple
solar
armor dropped and
special
you were
ammo sidearm?
thrilled to go pick it up and see what was inside?
I guess.
And then we want to rework the stats to make sure no stat is left behind, no stat feels mandatory, and give you further depth of build crafting in your armor
heel
rolls,
clip.
essentially.
Yeah, and then an underlying
Huge.
goal as well that I've seen you execute upon in the team really is approachability. There are a lot of new UI
Oh,
tools.
the bow
where
gets
you cover
precision
frames,
instruments.
stats, all that kind of stuff. You're seeing actual percentages. You're seeing
it's a new
more,
frame.
full descriptions.
Yeah.
Low.
Helping newer players or returning players get reacquainted with the sandbox of Destiny.
Yeah, in this release and in coming releases, we are absolutely focusing on making the game easier to digest and understand what's going on. And this, looking at the shooting range here, is a great example of this, like where I can just go and see how much damage I'm doing, and test out my weapons, test out these builds, and see the actual changes that my new armor and whatnot is giving me.
Yeah, and you can load in here with a full fire team of 6 if you want to check out raid boss damage, or just come in here by yourself if you're on Discord talking to friends, shooting the stuff. So let's really quick talk about stats. This is one of the major overhauls. A couple things are leaving, a couple things are being added. Really quick, if you could get a quick scroll through some of the stats, go ahead and give us.
Yeah, so we've removed some stats. We've removed resilience. We've removed recovery.
Mobility.
Yes, and mobility. So instead, starting from the top, we got health. Then we have melee and grenade, super, class, and then our weapon stat. So this is an entirely new suite of stats, does different things. All of our stats now, instead of going to 100, they go to 200. So once you go above 100, you get an additional benefit put on top of the 0 to 100 benefit. And these, on the ability side, we are giving you kind of your uptime and how much energy you're getting in the 0 to 100 range. And then the 100 to 200 range, we're increasing things like damage, things like survivability, which is somewhere we've never really, gone into. And it's going to really give players more tools to customize their build, kind of pinpoint single, like I'm gonna be this badass grenade thrower that's just doing shit tons of grenade damage, or I could be more defensive or more weapon focused and all of this, right?
Yeah, we haven't had like a weapons stat before, and it's sometimes been you'd have to like hook into the artifact to make like a true weapons build, and we've kind of pushed further into that world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we saw some questions specifically about the weapon stat and PvP. I know y'all have been balancing in the PvP, making sure this is kind of like cherry on top. It doesn't change the time to kill too much, but it's kind of like a cost balancing factor, right? If you want that extra damage, you lose out on grenades, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to go all in on weapons, like your weapons are going to be more potent than they were before, but it's at the expense of your other abilities and that sort of thing. So we have done extensive testing
Huge
to make
Helion
sure we're
moment.
not breaking PvP. That said, you know, in the first day that this comes out, the amount of hours being put into this by genius members of the community is going to dwarf what we've done. So it's a little bit scary how much change we've actually put in this. The team's worked so hard across the entire game. Everything you hear today it's not apples to apples with the pre-Edge of Fate numbers and feel of the game. It really across the game we have just changed so much.
It's very different. It's not really easy to compare the experience of what's going to be in the
Thank you for the sub, Jared.
People are playing right
I appreciate you.
But at the same time, it still feels like Destiny.
Yeah, it's that
like
quintessential feel of I got my gun, I have my abilities, but now it's how much agency do I have in leaning into some of these things and embracing like a role-playing mechanic.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things is like internally, I think the most common thing we say in like our sandbox channel now has just like emerged as, man, I can't wait for 900. Like the sandbox is really exciting. There's a lot of really specific builds you can do. Like if you want to be the melee guy, you can be the melee guy more than ever before, right? And it's I think we're going to see some really crazy stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of embracing some of these different lanes, we actually have
Holy
3 new
chickens.
exotics coming with the Edge of Fate. Each class is going to get 1 new exotic. Each embrace a different sort of vibe or theme, and yeah, you can see them on screen. I think first we're going to start with the Warlock exotic, and Bjorndal, you have all the details.
Sure. Yeah, so first we have Yunoya, which is Warlock exotic themed around the Hellion
Yunoya.
aspect.
Why do
What
they
this
always give the
does
Warlock
is
exotics
after your
terrible
Hellion
names?
Fires, after a certain amount of time, the projectile is going to shatter into a bunch of submunitions
Nah,
that will like
Hunters
seek
is worse.
nearby units and scorch them, and so it kind of like adds a little bit of like skill
Just
play
remember
to something
Arachne.
that was kind of more of a passive aspect in the past.
And the
Yeah,
Warlock
I think
chess
in
piece,
the shooting range,
Mattia
you can
Doxy
see,
or
like,
whatever the fuck it is.
It can be both a single target or a group sort of ad clear exotic, right?
Yeah. It can kind of serve multiple roles, just kind of like amping up something that was like a trusty old tool to be something a little more that you have to like manually aim.
Oh wow, shit, we have seen,
You
yeah.
can, like, because it like splits in mid-flight, you can kind of like control your spacing to like control the grouping of it. If you want to hit one target, you know, if you're at the right
a little bit
distance, you'll hit
closer.
all 5, yeah. And they'll like burst way earlier than before. Or if you like get way back,
think-
you can just blanket a region.
This exotic will be good.
Yeah, and we can see on the screen too, like
I-
some of the looks of
I
the
hope it's
exotic
good.
and the Hellion have changed.
Yeah, so like while you're using the exotic,
it will be
Hellion
good
itself,
on
like
someone
the
else.
little solar buddy will have the
If you use
same
it on
X that
Pantheon
the
Sport.
gauntlets do. So it's
Yes,
like a nice,
these projectiles can
nice little nod to like match the exotic.
Love it.
This
move.
thing looks so
Just
metal. I'm like
distract
so about
and-
having
and
a
not
big
just
gas
sprint.
canister on my
Uh-huh.
arm. Having that like flamethrower warlock arm is so cool. I may
So
have
yeah,
to start
for-
switching play warlock.
For Pantheon Sport,
Love
it
it.
will be good.
Next up, I believe we have Hunter on docket.
Yeah, so the Hunter exotic is Morai, which is a strand-themed exotic that's about your threaded spike and tangles. Where you can
I
basically,
can't see this being
yo-yo a
good. I'm
tangle
sorry.
Out in the field, back in your hand, and then throw it again.
To be honest,
so the way this
it's the
works is if you have a
worst
tangle out in the
exotic
field and you throw
I've ever
seen.
your strand hunter melee at it, it'll pop the tangle.
I can't
and
imagine
then
using this.
bring one back to
In
you.
any
and if you
type of
catch
content,
the spike, you'll
it's
get
so
another
hard.
tangle. So you can like duplicate a tangle, which works really well with a lot of Strand Hunter aspects like Whirling Maelstrom and just like the existing tie-in with like grapple.
You
to
get
a
2
tangle.
tangles.
Oh boy, you get like
And what?
even more mobility and a lot of like ad clear potential. And also it will return more energy when you catch it as well. So like even if you don't hit anything or you don't grab a tangle, so it helps you keep that engine going.
Yeah, you can see the strand energy attached to the threaded spike. So if you grab that, I love how we're rewarding that like perfect grab.
Yeah.
Strand meditations,
Spin
woo!
to win as they're spamming these things, right?
Yeah, I mean you can have 3 Beyblades out in the
And you
field
have
at
to
any time, essentially.
use
It's-
your
And you're like zipping
useful
between the
melee.
tangles with grapple. It's cool as hell.
It's very strong. It's
The
also gonna be very
rectangle.
strong with this part of it.
They said that if you catch it, it gives you a bunch of melee energy.
another cool tidbit about this is
But no.
We'll see after he
the threat
throws
attack
it.
bounce,
Oh, it gives you
to
45%.
the angle from enemies as well. So
Wow.
it's
It's
something
not worth.
that
It's not
has
worth it to
a
have a
lot of
gameplay
easy
dodge.
use,
Yeah.
Even after the nerf.
really rewards skill at the same time.
Yeah, I think before we move on to Titans, and sorry Titans, we'll get to you in a second. Really cool exotic. I do want to talk about Gambler's Dodge. In the last TWID, we talked about a bunch of abilities changes, exotic tuning, that kind of stuff. And we saw some chatter around Gambler's Dodge. It was updated and reworked, right?
Yeah, we have reworked Gambler's Dodge. So it's the energy you get when you dodge. It now scales on your melee stat, but you no longer have to dodge near enemies to get that energy. So I can dodge anywhere in the game. I don't have to worry about this invisible circle that's around me to know if I'm close
It's actually
enough.
very good.
It is going to feel more consistent.
Mhm.
If I build into melee, it's going to feel more powerful. There's also, Taylor, you were talking about the multiple charges, right?
So if you, like our bar for a lot of this stuff is if you are at 70 stat, you'll get the full refund like you used to. But
Oh,
if you go
70?
beyond
That's
that,
not
you
bad.
actually get a little bit more, which most of the time doesn't matter. But like if you're using like a Affinity Spade or any of the multi melee things,
Especially
or,
with strength melee.
shurikens, it'll go up to like 1 1/3 charges. So you can keep that going even better if you're fully invested in melee. So you have like more reasons like to invest in it. If you want more melees, you want them to be more damaging, then you just go all in on that, and it will still do
like
stuff.
just so many shurikens.
Yeah.
Just an embarrassment of shurikens.
Which is great. Like
Freeze everything in front of you. right?
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then I won't be bothering you and saying, don't kill this thing, let me do my dodge.
Yeah,
anytime.
you can just do it wherever you want.
So yeah, let's go on to Titans. So this one thematically, I think, for me at least, I'm just like, you're a Forge Master.
Yeah. So this is Melis Panoplia, which is an
A hard
exotic
name to say.
Yeah.
As we get deeper into Destiny, the names get a little, yeah, but go ahead.
It's it's an exotic themed around something that people have been asking for a long time, which is kind of the fantasy of Thor's hammer. Of I want to be able to pull my hammer back to me after I throw it. So there's like a little minigame loop here where you get a fire sprite, and you pick it up, then you get a buff that lets you pull the hammer back to you. And if you pull the hammer back with good timing, it'll explode into like solar shrapnel and hit stuff for like extra damage on the way back. Kind of like how Hammer Saw works, and I think the hammer also will damage things on the return trip too. So if you
It's fun,
position yourself well,
Yeah.
you can actually like send it back
But
through guys.
line 'em up.
Back.
not useful.
Yeah, we've wanted to
Because
do this
you
for a
spent
long
so much
but it's
time on
been,
animations.
kind of a
He just picked up the hammer and it instantly recharged it, by the way. There's no
sort of
cooldown
thing
on it
where it's
anymore.
like it returns all your energy, but it
Yeah,
also
but
you can pull it
this
back to you at
animation
any time.
is
So
too long.
Alex, our designer, really knocked it out of the park as far as
No, but I'm like,
Came out so well.
for like normal Bonk Titan,
the activator and the
I think it'll...
performance.
Yeah, you were talking about the animation, right?
Yeah.
Before this.
I love the performance on this thing. we've got like this beat where it's like all this magnetic like
Normal
hand
Bonk
shaking,
Titan
and
you
it
can
feels
use
so good. We actually
shots
did like a
between
new tech
hammers.
thing on this where if you're like looking off to the side, we kind of move the player's hand a little bit so you're like still kind of actually pulling the hammer. And it's like the first time we've done that with like a world object, and it's very cool. It feels really good.
Awesome.
It's super satisfying.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to be getting into some more gameplay and an actual activity.
You
in a
can
minute,
use
but
one to
before
punch
We go, I do
next
want to
to
ask
C
for
with
some
hammers.
and actually two things.
Yep, tractor
With
cannon,
your
1-2
exotics, there are
punch.
going to be gear bonuses
I'm gonna
that you
be
can build on top of, correct?
living the
And that's a new
dream.
Armor 3.0 feature.
Yeah, so gear bonuses when a new
I'm not
armor
actually
set
going to.
drops.
One free sector.
If you have 2 or more pieces,
Unironically,
from that armor set, you will get an
probably.
additional perk. If you have 4 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get another perk on top of that. So I could take 2 pieces from one set, 2 pieces from another set, and then an exotic, and I have like more perks than I've ever
Or
had
caretaker.
before on my Guardian.
Oh no, Caretaker,
it's
man.
really,
Oh god.
enables you
Caretaker is
to-
so
to
cooked.
Expand your build crafting
Yeah.
in new ways.
Yeah, I think
makes it
we have an example of this in the build right now.
Maybe I'll
If,
finally
gameplay
do solo
specialists didn't
Caretaker.
Expect an armor piece.
Yeah,
You can see, yeah, here's some of the destination
if only you
armor
can
bonuses that you
to
can get.
4.
Yeah.
Could
so
you imagine if
2
you
pieces, we have force
if this
converter,
comes
and
out and you can
4 pieces, we
2-floor?
have a reactive booster. And sorry, go for
That
it.
would be a
Yeah,
little
you-
I was just gonna
silly.
say, like, so yeah, these are
Yeah,
unique
you
to
could,
the
'cause,
armor
yeah.
set itself. something more than just like cosmetics that you might want out of these.
We'll get a
You another
banner
reason
war
to, like,
buff,
go
a
to
huge
a
banner
specific
war
place
buff
and pursue a
to
specific
Midas.
garment set besides just
Mhm.
fashion. Although fashion is still very
Although
important.
You can
Very
still
Oh,
use your
sets.
armor synthesis and put the looks on these.
Yeah, and I mean, we also get to make perks that are like, I'm the this guy, you know, because you're investing so heavily in the four-piece perk. But what's really cool about this is like, I think this is going to be very cool at live.
Both of
when we, like,
those
launch.
don't
But I
seem
think in, like,
that
2,
great.
you know,
I'm gonna be
releases or
honest.
whatever, just a little bit in the future, we're gonna see people go like, hey, remember that armor
I think
that I
Mixing,
got?
like,
two
something from
pieces
2 seasons ago.
Right,
of
the
that
two-piece
set
perk from Kepler is really cool with
we
whatever.
can use
and we're
on
really excited
Hunter's
about that.
Zertarakni
Yeah, and
loadout.
then the second piece of this is going to be for the stats rework.
We've added
some
now
of the fragments are going to be
jail.
reworked as well to
Just
adopt
maybe,
stats or
yeah.
or change, right?
Yeah, so fragments still
and just use
can
2 pieces of
adjust
armor.
your stats up or
So-
down depending on your build. And some of these, you know, because we've deprecated some of our perks, or stats rather, some of these are new. Like we're gonna have, you know, some of these will have weapon stat, which never have happened before, which just opens up new build crafting avenues. We're gonna kind of wait and see how this lands, how the dust settles for all of the stat stuff before we go in and adjust these further.
There's still
But,
only plus
yeah,
10 or like
think
minus 10 on the
players have a
subclass
lot
stuff,
of
which is
different
interesting.
ways to build out their stats and become the grenade master, the weapon master, and whatever they want to do.
So quick shout out, Dark Slifer, Childish CG, and Snivvyland for those last 2 questions. They actually asked them ahead of time. Feel free to keep dropping questions in chat. I'm glancing down here every so often. Now it is time to move on and let's talk about some new stuff. Vivian, you have been very excited about a new weapon archetype that is coming with the Edge of Fate.
I sure am. For centuries, humanity has wondered, like, what would a legendary bow look like in the heavy slot? And today I have your answer. For Edge of Fate, we are building a crossbow. It plays like a new archetype, but it is technically a bow for the purposes of, you know, like, it's gonna fill all your bounties.
This is
that kind of stuff.
huge.
Now, when we went to go make this, we knew it was a very cool fantasy, right? We want the feeling of like really drawing it back and it hitting a single target and doing a ton of damage. But we do have linear fusion rifles, right? And that's always the question, is like, what does this do that's different? What's the fun gameplay here? And we settled on, well, you know, when you shoot that big heavy bolt and it hits your target, you can just go pick it back up. So this thing theoretically is a heavy weapon with unlimited ammo. You can use the same bolt for an entire nightfall if you want. I would love to see someone do that. Go clear a dungeon without ever using anything else or whatever, you know? It's very cool. You have to put yourself in danger. You have to go grab it.
I got the emblem drop. Let's go.
It's just such a satisfying loop to just like pull it out of some, you know, dead hive. Just put it in the rail, pull it back, use the same bolt to shoot someone else. It's great.
I saw last week in a PvP playtest, I saw someone run the entire map with a single bolt, and they just kept it alive for minutes on end.
That was me. I'm sorry.
I can hear the PvP mains, like when you said infinite heavy ammo, they're like, excuse me?
Yeah,
but it's like, you gotta go
You
pick
gotta
that
go
thing up.
get it. Yeah. So it's not free, but it is very potent.
And in PvP, you only get the one. You gotta get the headshot, and it's very funny. It ends up being like this game of like keep away, where you're like, we cannot let Taylor get near this thing.
So as we're going into this activity, we'll get some gameplay footage. This is a good example of the portal system that we'll be talking about next week on July 1st. Make sure to tune in.
It's Arc. Interesting.
But we're going to be taking some content from just the history of
Salt and
Destiny that
Spire.
will be in the portal to go in and play.
Yeah.
Wow.
Power progression, we'll be talking about that next week, so stay tuned for that. Vivian, back to the heavy crossbow though. You were talking about this being legendary, so that means random rolls, and you had mentioned bolts.
Oh, it's a legendary.
Yeah. So we had a really fun opportunity when we were making this, where we go to the talent grid, and we always want to make stuff kind of like new and different. And we got
I wonder how long
like,
they sit on the
this
floor
thing does
for.
not have a magazine. We cannot put magazines
Small
on
scripts.
this, right? And it gave us the opportunity to like really go, what would like a different magazine
Oh my God,
plug
it's
system look like? And so what we ended up going for is like
It's a bane.
bolt types. And the
It's a
bolt
bane that
types,
enemies
instead
can
of
get. They just
being
spawn
stats,
mini
they're going to
sweeps.
alter the way the bolt actually behaves out in the world.
Man.
So we've got one of them is like explosive
It's
bolt,
so
where it's
scary.
going to put in a target. it'll like beep 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 beep, and it'll just explode, kind of like a grenade launcher. And then
Oh, it's
we
like
have,
a revive bird.
my personal favorite is that we have
Kind of.
serrated bolts.
Oh, no.
I remembered
Yeah.
to say the shipping name this time.
Oh, you can say, yeah.
used
If
to
it
be
doesn't have
tactical.
3 names, it's not
Actually,
real game dev.
I
A
never
good
know
choice
when things go live. I
against
never know. I'm
champions
like,
and
"Oh,
James.
you guys know better than I do the
Yeah,
names."
go ahead.
But yeah, so we have serrated bolts, and you can put like the bolt in a target with serrated bolts, and you can normally draw them back out of living targets, but if you have serrated bolts, they're gonna deal damage on the exit too, and it is so satisfying to like land
That ogre has a
hit
shield?
the pull, and you just pull back your
That
bolts
ogre
and
has a
hit them,
frontal
and
shield
they
that you
just
can't
go
do
flying.
damage through.
That back. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first brought
Oh
this up, I was
my.
just like, that's so
Oh,
metal.
the-
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, gimme.
It's something.
No, man.
Really quick, just on the
Imagine
topic
Wyverns with that
of,
thing.
of ammo, there are new ammo meters. Bjorn, we were going to talk about this.
Ooh,
in
the ammo
firing range
meters?
shooting
Yeah.
range. But we actually have some live gameplay where we can see these meters working out. Can you talk us through what is this new system? How does it work? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's been a pretty big shakeup in the way that ammo works in the game, where in the past it wasn't really anything that you had too much control over, but now it is something that you have like a lot of control over and a lot of build crafting hooks to optimize or like make your own. And it almost like kind of works like an ability or like a super does now, where it lives in your weapon tray. You can see there below the weapons on kills and assists with anything that'll tick up. And then when you hit full, the next kill will drop you a brick of that type. So there's a lot of things you can do now that you can build into to like have a lot more control over the pacing of when you're getting that.
Sweet.
And like there's a bunch of armor mods that exist now that like pretty much all the things that used to be finders or inventory now fit into ammo generation, which is like a new weapon stat. So players have a lot of different ways to kind of build around that, depending on like, you know, if you have a really ammo-hungry special weapon, then you have some options now to actually make that easier to feed.
And we'll be talking about this in depth in a future Twitter blog, so stay tuned for that, especially PvP heads. I've already seen conversation from our content creator videos going out. But before we get out of combat, I do want to talk about, alongside the new weapon archetype of the crossbow, we have some new weapon frames coming to the game.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So let's start with the hand cannon.
All right, yeah, so we have the spread shot hand cannon. It's like a big, chunky, beefy hand cannon that fires shotgun pellets. Very close range, but hard hitting. 2-tap PvP. I'm a little afraid of that, but you know,
But
I'm
it's
sure
close
it'll be
range,
great.
right?
Yeah,
Like-
it's very limited. It's like a sidearm, like big punchy sidearm,
It's
but like
primary.
less range than a sidearm. But like less precision reliant.
This thing has become my baby in
Yeah.
PvP. I love this thing.
It's pretty great.
It's kind of like having like a sawed-off
Yeah.
that's like a primary ammo, and it is just so good if you play aggressive or you use like other abilities to hit people.
It's
or
really
just
good
want
as like
to
a mixer in between other
Do you
stuff.
want to?
Right, and that's exactly how
want
I
to
play.
punch?
So I love this thing.
Yeah.
And second, so shout out to Sammy Cat, resident bow lover. She does full solo dungeons, HUD off, bows only. We have a new bow frame that's going to be coming.
Yeah, so we made a longbow, which is like a big, heavy war bow. Even slower draw than precisions, but more damage, and it has intrinsic overpenetration. So if you line up a bunch of thrall and you like hip fire a full draw, it'll just go straight through all of them with one shot.
I love that our damage numbers have been squished a little bit. So they actually
Yeah, we
mean
need
something
a
now.
elemental
Look
ball.
how much damage is bow is
Better
doing
step.
compared to like each one of those.
Sympathetic
challenges.
arsenal.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Like when
No.
like in the live game
Bro.
where it's like I did 20,000 damage with a shot. I was like,
Yeah,
the
it's hard to
numbers-
compare.
Yeah,
Right.
start to be
Right.
meaningless. But for me, we've just changed so much, and I can't overstate like how
Gambit damage
how
numbers,
how
yeah.
much has changed and how this game is I guess evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and all
yeah,
those
as we
features are,
already
like,
said.
they go hand in hand, right? Like us
Damage
changing the
numbers.
stats
Mhm.
around, you know,
Because of
us
the
making new
saga.
builds possible. A lot of these changes are all like they're all going to kind of combine to create something new.
Yeah. Did you see that front shielded ogre?
Oh,
with
boy.
we have a new. We'll talk about this next week.
Yeah.
But the new Banes are incredible. I'm very excited for players.
Oh boy, yeah.
To play with.
New banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff. And then the final weapon we got on tap is going to be a special weapon, another burst, shoots explosives.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So I know a lot of people are big fans of rocket-assisted sidearms. Now we have a rocket-assisted frame pulse rifle. So that fits a similar role, but a little bit different. It's a little more ammo hungry than the sidearms. It got a bit more range and it hits a bit harder. So it kind of fits in between like a fusion rifle and a sniper rifle. Also kind of fires a little bit differently than pulse rifles, which is interesting just because like all of our pulse rifles have like different burst delay, but when you're firing each pulse, they all have like the same rate of fire. So this, instead of being like the brr, it's like a bop. So it feels heavier and it's firing these like big, slower projectiles. So it feels chunkier.
Thank you for.
It is very good.
Samuel.
That is very good damage.
Fire to greatness.
Yeah.
I will use it on
real cool. It's real heavy,
contest.
but it's also like, you know, like we said, it's like pretty.
Because
ammo
I
hungry.
need a
One of the
one
cool things
range
about
special
900 is, like,
and
we have the
not
ammo
sniper.
stat. You know, you can build into that. You can eliminate that downside, and now you can see it working.
Yeah, same for the longbow too. Like there were some perks on the random rolls that you can go in, lessen the draw time. Like sure, it's still going to be a little bit slow fiery, heavy hitting, but there's a bunch of ways that you can build craft and tune these things to feel good for your playstyle.
Like you have like one for all or other things that care about hitting multiple targets.
Yeah, right. So as we're going through this transition, we actually have a bunch more to cover, and gear tiering has been top of mind for a lot of players ever since our reveal stream. So Eric, I'd love to dive in and just revisit what's the high-level vision statement for gear tiering and how we're getting players reinvested in some of that.
Yeah, so gear tiering enables players to look at a piece of gear at a glance and like understand how powerful it is. So you can see those kind of 5 icons or 5 little dots there. This is a 5th tier armor piece we're looking at. And the stat package or the stat pool that each piece gives is going to depend on the tier. So you can see at tier 1, it's going to drop between 52 and 57 stat totals. And then at tier 5, you are guaranteed 75 stats plus stat tuning, which lets you kind of add some.
Yeah, shout out to, there were a bunch of folks that were asking, what are stat bands? Because in the game right now, it's what is low to a given player. Like 62 feels low, but an actual definition is like 58 or lower.
Yeah.
In the game now, we have UI that tells you exactly what are the stat bands for each of the tiers, so you know what you're looking for as you're trying to build a 200 or 150 or whatever you're looking for.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I love that we did this because this is the most common question I get in my clan that I answer, and I love that you can just go see it now.
Yeah, having information in a game is great. I think the biggest thing about this is that because the bands are a lot narrower, you have a much better expectation of what you're getting like before you even start the activity. So, like I know a lot of people like you go into.
I'm interested in what the little help button is in the bottom left of the screen.
If you're going to get like 55 or 70. Yeah, it's like an extremely wide range, but like that takes a lot of time and effort to get through. So now it's just like you're going into like the toppest end difficulty thing to get tier 5s. You know exactly what you're getting.
New.
Yeah.
So it's significantly more likely that when you get your drop, it's going to be something valuable. It might not be valuable to your exact build, but it will be valuable. It'll be the stats total that you want.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, and with the new portal system, which we'll talk about next week, you're going to have a score goal that you want to hit to get that exact armor piece, and it's like more targeted farming or more targeted. If I want to chase a certain thing, like I know what I have to do to get it, and when it drops, I know what it's going to give me as far as the total value. Right.
Yeah. It means if it means.
And exciting.
If you get suspended, it gives you it gives you speed booster. So it means when you drop out of suspension, you have increased mobility to like move out of the way.
If you want to really max out,
It'll be more of a PvP thing than PvE. Like it's in PvE, it's absolutely worthless. If you're getting that consistently hit by suspended, that you need this on an armor, that you need the 4-piece for that.
Cool. Is it
I'm gonna say it. You're bad at the game.
Like, what is the thing that I want? You can use that as like a quick reference rather than needing to go all the way into inspection and see like the exact stats.
And the last detail on tier 5 for armor, we mentioned this in the reveal stream, but you can get to 11 energy for your armor, so it helps with build crafting. You can get more of those armor mods slotted and that kind
Hello,
of stuff.
Jared.
It goes to 11 now.
Yeah, right.
It's okay. You can just play Bonk Titan now.
We have some examples of tier 1, tier 3, and tier 5 weapons to show what is that progression looking like.
Yeah, similarly, when a
They
weapon
removed
drops,
it.
I'm able to just glance at it.
They removed what?
Tier 1 weapon. It's going to have base stats. It's going
What did they remove?
They changed. They changed
but then you can see at tier 3.
Oh, like the
we now have 2 enhanced traits.
stats,
We
yeah.
have some of our columns are going to have
No, man.
perk
I don't
options
understand.
in them.
I
And
don't
then tier
understand what's the
5,
stat boost for
yep, so this
boots.
is a tier 3, and then tier 5 is going to have even more. Like, look at the options here, and so much enhancement. And
Yeah,
we
tier
have
4 you get the enhanced weapon mods too.
right.
Yeah, kind of like how armor is like you have a much better understanding of like when I'm starting an activity, what is the expectation of the things I'm getting. This like the multi perk and the enhanced perks kind of work for that too. So the odds of you getting that like
Oh,
specific
provides an
god
ammo,
roll
but
or multi-god
enhanced
roll,
envious
if
arsenal
you're looking
giving an
for, like, the combo
a bonus to
PvP
ammo
weapon,
generation. Holy moly!
are
We're
a
adding-
lot higher than like
Oh
the past
my.
activities where you're just getting okay, I'm gonna get one adept with
That's a
one
little
trait in each
silly.
column.
Yeah, and we're adding a lot of depth. Like as we were hovering
Oh
over those
my.
enhanced perks, they have additional things that they can do, whether it be stats or power for the perk. We're putting all of these details into the game so people know as they're getting into the
I like how it has
stats, they can
7
hover over
reload
these
speed.
things, understand all the different stats. We'll of course have blog components. We'll
Bruh.
have some guides that our players make, our creators make. We'll blast those
Let's
out.
change mic.
But we're hoping to bring more of those sorts of things into the game to make it easier to understand. So
You only just
Yeah,
finished that little
said,
feat?
If
Jesus.
you have a great weapon drop that dropped this season or 5 seasons ago, if it's a good roll, it's a good roll. Like it's just because it doesn't necessarily adhere to the tier system doesn't mean it is not equal or greater value in some.
Yeah, there was this really funny reference that Mactix made, one of our creators, where he had this beautiful giant sword, and he's like, "This is what I got today, and it has perfect rolls for a rocket launcher, et cetera, et cetera. And here's my new tier 1 weapon that doesn't really have good perks. Like, what are you going to use?"
Yeah.
So to answer the question, Shadow on Blue Sky was asking, are my weapons that I have right now or armor, like, is that going to be viable in high-end content? And the answer is, of course. There are going to be a couple things in here that add incentive to try out new things, but Vivian, you had kind of framed it as a cherry on top, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's also like a way to, in the past, sometimes like the best way to get your path to power.
The Stasis
was to
Hunter,
do
no,
a
man.
lot of something, but now if you like do really hard activities as well, we're also just kind of rewarding you for the time there.
Yeah.
They
So
got
right in the
Talk
nine.
about
2
don't
melee
shoot your
charges
stuff
from
in
1
relation to this.
dodge.
Yeah, we will in a second, but I just wanted to touch on right at the nine. Some
Yeah,
folks
it's
were
if you
asking,
have like
what do these
130,
equate to in the tier
140 in the
system?
melee
When you
stat,
get an
it'll give
adept or
you.
the nine weapon, both of your
It's because
columns are
you
enhanced,
normally have multiple of
all
the
that
melee
good stuff,
charges
like
on
it looks like a tier 3, it's
stasis,
gonna
right?
feel like a tier 3 for a
So-
while, so there is a good handshake as you're going into Edge of Fate. But yeah, the last thing for tier 5 gear, I would like to show the cosmetic treatment that we've been doing. We showed this in the reveal stream, but tier 5s have
It's interesting.
an awesome new shader
Uh-huh.
treatment and also kill effects.
Yeah, so these basically on the weapons, they'll come with like fancy shader on it, and then something almost kind of similar to what we do with Sweaty Confetti, but now it's like a specific slot where it gets a custom kill effect that only comes on the tier 5 variant.
Yeah, and you can see with gear tiering, it's kind of learning a bunch of lessons through the years of Destiny. Like, kill effects are really cool. Players like this. Now we have a new slot for it. Players really like hollow foils as a chase in the game right now, and now we have tier 5s where you get sort of a hollow foil style treatment for it. So it's been really cool to watch y'all develop this over time. But to your point, this actually is a good segue into the next section where we're talking about new and featured gear and our artifact. So Eric, if you want to take the stage, what is new or featured gear?
Yeah, so our new gear, when we drop new weapons and armor for a season or for a release, that is going to get a bonus. It's going to be a little bit stronger than your other options. So on the armor side, you are going to get a damage resistance bonus per piece you have equipped, and that is, it kind of scales by gear tier. So if I have 5
We
tier
have to
1
farm new armor.
pieces, I'm gonna have 5% damage resistance against everything.
Bruh.
But if I have 5,
I can't wait to have to farm
tier
armor
5
every
gear pieces, I'm gonna have 15% damage.
major
So,
update. That's
I guess-
gonna fucking
yeah.
suck.
So it is something that allows me to have a little bit of an edge. It's a very small amount. It's a min-max sort of situation where if I wanted to wear stuff that is not in the new gear pool, Like I am not at a huge detriment.
Right.
But
Something that gives you like that little bit of edge to like inch out
116
into, like, the
days for
highest tier stuff
your
when you like
strike
really
mods.
need just a little bit more health or a little bit more damage.
Yeah, speaking of damage, so you can see
I mean,
the max is actually 10%. This is a clarification. We invited some folks into the studio to look through all of this.
I don't think that's the
original
actual.
number was 15%. It's actually 10% on your additional damage when you get all your tier 5 weapons equipped.
At the actual time.
So again, cherry on top.
Oh, it probably
kinda
also
gives you that
counts,
edge, and also it gives you a way, kind of like in earlier
like
releases
right
where
now
you walk out
until
into the tower and you're wearing all
Ash
your
and
red gear,
Iron
you're
in
kinda like
September.
peacocking, as y'all have framed it. And
When the
now it's,
DLC
oh, hey, I have all tier 5 gear. This shows like not only
Yeah,
is
still
this
long.
content, but I've
Yeah,
earned a bunch of really cool
like
stuff,
3 months with
gotten all the
no
gear
new
I want,
artifact
and
mods
now
is gonna
I
suck.
can carry my team through. So, when it comes to the new gear as well, what's the way that you identify that as a player?
yeah, so if you see that little kind of teal icon in the top left corner of the armor piece, that is going to that's going to tell me that it is in the new gear pool. So it's not only gear from this season or release, but it is also gear. It's like a collection of exotic.
What was that
pieces.
mod they had in the
Yeah, we
arms?
hop
It was
into the
2
collections
surges in
really
the
quick. There's
arms.
actually a new section that's going to show
strength
here's our
surges.
featured gear. So if you have some things from previous releases, those are going to be a part of the building or build crafting as well.
Correct.
A note for any newer players or returning players, some of these things are actually like you can go to Xur, try to grab those. You can go into Rite of the Nine. Emissary is
No
gonna
one
have
is using
things
Wings
like
of
Graviton
Sacred Dawn,
lamps.
Bungie.
That's a great thing to pick up before this new release starts, so then you have a little bit of an edge going in.
Yeah, if y'all screenshot this, you can start hunting this stuff down right now, right?
Yeah, and we will have follow-up blogs where we're going to go line by line. I understand, like, this stream has a lot of data. It has a lot of numbers, that kind of stuff. Big lists of gear. We'll have a full bulleted list, not just in TWIDs, but in patch notes as we keep going. So I think with that, we can go into the artifact as well.
Finality's Augur is on that list, by the way, so we'll just do a flat 10% more
so-
damage.
The artifact this time around, we're going and we're exploring Kepler. So kind of going with that theme is we wanted this to be kind of like, scout the wild frontier. And so to that end, it's kind of a little longer range weapon-wise than some of our recent artifacts. One of the other themes that we wanted to get was this is gonna be me and my fire team, So if you're scouting solo, we have stuff for solo. If you're scouting as a group, we have stuff as a group. Then lastly is we made this artifact a little more weapons focused than we maybe normally do, because we wanted to kind of highlight that kind of the Guardians kit, kind of down to earth, kind of grit thing. Some of my favorite perks in these are in the fifth column. There's that first one is Radiant Shrapnel. And this is gonna add an additive shrapnel burst when you're killing guys when they're radiant, or when you're radiant, or they are scorched. And I actually really like that we pay out scorched a little, because sometimes you can't quite get that ignition,
So that's going to pair really well with the Warlock exotic coming out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You could scorch a bunch of guys and then you can cause them to alt burst. It's very cool. The fourth one in this column also is a favorite of mine. It's Tangled Web. And this is going to suspend everyone when you generate a tangle via combat. And normally we do that effect, we reserve that effect for breaking the tangle, right? And now it's on creation, and it leads to a very fun situation where you can just kind of walk up and take it, and you're like, thank you guys, I'll be back. And they can't do anything, and it kind of gets you there faster if you're not using grapple grenades.
Strand
It
Titan.
works really well with the Hunter exotic.
It also works really well with the Hunter exotic. It's lots of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, so there's a question from V. Ferrer sorry if I
Strong
pronounced
melee
that wrong,
on
asking,
Hunter.
are there going to be more seasonal mods? And with
Just
the
blow up
artifact, you can see
the entire
next major
arena.
update, there's going to be
Just
another row,
one
as
melee.
people know. With the featured gear, there's also going to be added exotics to that pool. And Bjorn, I believe we are also making some new seasonal mods that'll be released over time, correct?
Yeah, kind of the same way that we did last season, where we had the Taken theme set of weapon mods. We'll have the same thing for this release's theme. That you can find those out as they come.
Perfect. All right. Well, wow. I believe we are at the end of the stream. Thank you so much for joining us on the couch. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us during this live stream to see what we have to offer. We do have another live stream next Tuesday, July 1st, same time, same place, different cast, sorry. I'll invite you back soon. But we're going to be talking Portal power progression. So what are you playing? How are you earning things? How are you getting up to these tier 5s? And also, how are you customizing your experience in the Portal with new Banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff? Just because this is information heavy, as I mentioned, we do have a slate of blog content that'll be coming live. We'll have a recap on Thursday. We have a standalone next Wednesday that'll talk a little bit more about gear tiering. Next Thursday, we'll also have another recap for that stream and additional sandbox information. And then we keep marching into launch with more patch note previews, gear previews, all that kind of stuff. So outside of the full suite of gear you'll be earning on Kepler, bunch of stuff to discover. So thank you so much again for joining. This has been a fun stream. And as we leave, we're going to toss you over to our good friend Fallout. He's going to be talking through a bunch of what we said today. He was one of the creators that we invited to Bungie with hands-on, so he can explain some things. And we'll be collecting questions throughout the rest of the day to answer in the twit. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
That was kind of...
Kind of
No, I don't think like that.